Let's look at some old technology. So this is a electronic dictionary that my dad owns. He probably got this in the early 90s here, and he used to use it a lot back then, and he still kind of uses it to this day. I remember I used to play around with it, and I would try to get this thing to say as many funny words as I can think of. Never gets old. But the real reason I brought this out is to find the definition of a word that is often used in the Thomas fandom verbiage.
Retired.
Secluded. I think this thing is a little bit out of date. Now, saying something is retired in Thomas is a nice way of saying that that item is discontinued. So let's see what it says for discontinued. Oh, I realized I spelled discontinued wrong. End. Discontinued items. Now, when an item in the Thomas Winterowing line is discontinued or retired, which is a nice way of saying that the item is no longer in production and that you can no longer find it in stores as easily as you were able to when the item was in production. Items in the line get retired at the end of every year, and sometimes it's for reasons that we probably don't know. But there has to be a reason behind it, because why else would they discontinue an item? I don't think there's a guy in the Learning Curve headquarters playing darts at the end of the year, and whatever photo that his dart lands on means that that item is getting retired for the year. There's gotta be another way of figuring out why items get retired. So I was able to deduce some possibilities with that. My first deduction is that the item is no longer popular. Supply overwhelms the demand for the item, meaning that people in the stores are not buying the item. Stores are not ordering restocks for that item, and that means the factory that is producing all these items no longer needs to produce that item anymore because it is unpopular with the consumers. Henceforth, they get retired. All these characters like the Diesel, Boko, Daisy that kind of stopped appearing regularly in the show after season 5, they're not going to be around as often just because the show doesn't really use them. They don't get exposed much to the kids who watch the episodes. Yeah, popularity is one way to go out the window in the Thomas Winterowing line. Another example is if an item gets repackaged. I mean, we can look at Annie and Clarabelle, for example. They were retired in 2003, but then they were packaged together as a 2-pack, and they had received some updated graphics on the side and on the faces, so technically they weren't retired, but individually, yeah, they were retired. Another example of why an item might be retired is if it's simply replaced. The Knapford Express coach was introduced in 1994, and for about 5 years, it was your way of getting a generic coach for other engines on Sodor to pull. But then in 1998, we got the Express coaches, which is a 2-pack, basically serving the same purpose as the Knapford Express coach, but these coaches look a lot more like they did in the TV show. They were introduced the same year that the Knapford Express coach was still being produced, but at the end of the year, the Knapford Express coach was retired, probably because these were more popular. So items getting retired was more commonplace in the early 2000s or so. That's when the brand was getting thinned out significantly, and a lot of characters that were introduced earlier in the line were now being retired and no longer made. So that leads me to think, what were the first items in the Thomas Winter Railway line that were retired? We're going to be taking a look at them right here. Does this really count? Henrietta was introduced into the line in 1993, and she was one of the first few characters to be retired in 1996. And this is kind of an odd character to decide to retire so early into the line, because Henrietta is often seen with Toby, but I'm guessing she's not as popular because she didn't have a face at all in the model series, and I know she later got one in the CGI series, but for a time being, Henrietta was just a faceless character. I mean, she was later introduced in the 5-card gift pack in 2001, and that became the only way you can get her. And then I believe she even had a limited reintroduction as a standalone character in the late 2000s, but When we're looking at items that were first retired, being retired in 1996 is crazy, especially for a character that appeared so often in the TV show. I don't know why they decided to retire Henrietta in 1996. I definitely think it had to be a factor of popularity. Again, does this guy really count as well? Boko, a character formally introduced into the line in 1994, only had 3 years in the line before he was retired in 1996. This is odd, like, yeah, Boko doesn't have a whole lot of episodes he appears in. Mainly, he stopped appearing in season 4, and then in season 5, he had his final role, and he was cut entirely from the series from that point on. Boko is a fan favorite, and it's sad how the show treated him after season 5, with never showing him again. So Boko as a standalone character was first retired in 1996. However, when Learning Curve decided to make the James Goes Buzz Buzz set, they decided, you know what, let's bring Boko back in because this set is lacking in something. So we can rope kids into making their parents buy this set because it has this character that we haven't had in the line for some time already. The set was introduced in 1999 to retire to 2001, so that was the only way you can get Boko until he was included in the promo for Coupon book with Tiger Moth and Lori 3, only for 2002. Again, that's kind of a weird way to get Boko, but luckily for Boko, he was reintroduced to the line in 2003, and he was kept on until 2005, probably just to get rid of old stock, honestly. But yeah, for the first run of Boko, being retired in 1996 for a character that was appearing, I guess, kind of consistently in the show at that point, is kind of wild. They treated my boy Boko dirty in the TV show and also in the Wooden Railway line. Right, so now we have our first item that was really retired and not reintroduced at some point down the road. The Cow on the Line set was introduced in 1993 and retired in 1996. And before anyone says it, this is not the real Cow on the Line set. Yeah, this is an item that I don't own yet. Essentially, you get 2 apple trees and 2 cows. One's supposed to look brown and the other one's supposed to look white. And they're supposed to represent Bluebell and her calf from the episode Cow on the Line. I'm using the cows from the Sodor Dairy Farm as their stand-ins because that's the only way you can get those 2 cows. But yeah, it's a cute set. It's a very small, basic set. Of course, it was made at the time when Learning Curve was just starting their footing with the brand. Yeah, this is as basic as it gets. It's a cute way to get some figures to recreate the episode, especially if you already have the characters that appear in the episode already. But yeah, it's cute, but it didn't last in the line very long, being retired in 1996. The water refilling tank was also retired in 1996. I like this item because of just how simple it is, and it really hits home to the simplicity of the Thomas Wooden Railway line when it first began. It's composed of 2 pieces. You have the wooden block, which is very simply made to show that it's like a tower of sorts, and then you have the gray water tank where it has a little spout here where you could line your engine up underneath it and it will connect with your imagination and it will put water into the tank. It's a cute item. I really wish this one would have lasted a little bit longer, but I'm also guessing due to its limited availability, it's a desirable piece for collectors to own. Now we're moving on to some vehicles that were retired in 1996 and never reintroduced into the line at all. Starting with the Crosby Station cargo truck. This item was introduced in 1994, technically 1993, because we had some early versions where there was a staple to connecting the body of the truck and its flatbed, and it didn't have the text Crosby Station Cargo on the side. This item never appeared in the TV series. It's cool to have a truck to add some character to your layout. Definitely you see vehicles in the Thomas line, but once again, I don't see why kids would run out and buy a road vehicle for a line based on railway engines. This is kind of the thing you would buy when you ran out of things to buy in the Thomas Wooden Railway line, but you still wanted to buy something new. I believe it's a collection filler if you're trying to go for a complete set of what you already had in the line all the way back in 1994 or 1996. And speaking of more roadway vehicles, we have Sir Topham Hatt's car. Now, Sir Topham Hatt's car is seen pretty often in the TV series, as this is Sir Topham Hatt's way of getting around quicker than on railway lines. An odd thing though about Sir Topham Hatt's car is that in the TV series, it's blue, but they decided to make it yellow here. I'm guessing there's already too much blue in the Thomas Wooden Railway line, and making it yellow, since there's not really a whole lot of yellow, makes this item stand out visually. So this definitely would stand out, especially because its color is quite unique at the time. Again, like the Crosby Station cargo truck, it's a road vehicle when you're mainly buying a line based on railway engines, so definitely railway stuff is going to be more intriguing to the consumer. Once again, Sir Topham Hatt's car is really neat to own. It was introduced in 1994 formally, but it had a 1993 variant where the edges are not as rounded as this one, and then also the license plate on the back was black. I'm not sure why they made it white on the 94, 95, and 96 versions, because black on yellow is more legible than white on yellow. But yeah, Sir Topham Hatt's car, I think it's cool. Maybe if they would have made it blue, it would have been more recognizable to kids, but it's a classic nonetheless. The big boy, the troublesome brake van. Part of why the troublesome brake van is so sought after by collectors and fans is that it's so cool looking. It's once again displays the basic style of wooden railway in the early 90s, and the troublesome brake van encapsulates that successfully. It's got a very desirable face. It's got a interesting body. You can definitely buy multiple of these and have a long freight train, but consumers didn't buy multiple of these. The troublesome brake van was also introduced in 1994 and retired in 1996. It does have a 1993 version, which is a complete brown colored body, but later in 1994 they decided to add a black roof to the top of the brake vans. And I believe the troublesome brake van does give credit to my theory of items not being popular with consumers and in terms to that retail stores because they weren't ordering restocks of them. Roy Wilson, I believe, said that the item was discontinued because it wasn't popular with consumers, so that's a reason of why it was discontinued. And the same type of logic can be applied to other items that were discontinued later on in the line. Yeah, troublesome brake van. I think it's a really cool item, of course. Very desirable, very collectible, and very nice to look at. I can look at this thing for hours. If I didn't have anything else to do all day, I'd probably do that. We have our first item that was retired in 1995 here. This is the set of 4 Workmen. They were introduced in 1993 and retired in 1995 here. And you do get some pretty good value with getting these Workmen because they have unique designs. Well, except for this guy though. This guy was later remade and continued on in the line for years to come. This is the first variant of the Workmen and how they looked like in 1993, where they had stickers pasted onto the wooden blocks. And they have on the other side the back of the figures. And you can kind of see with this one that the sticker is peeling off of the wooden block. So yeah, this is the Workman design that survived this initial set and was kept in the line and later had his sticker printed onto the wood. I guess that's how they would make them after 1996. This guy's my favorite. First of all, he's got a sick mustache, and second of all, he's wearing a pink vest. On Wednesdays, we wear pink, and this guy exemplifies it very well. So much so that he wears pink every day. It doesn't matter if it's Wednesday or not. He appears to be a postal worker. He's got a briefcase with a padlock on it that says mail, or he's smuggling some sort of drugs in this mail suitcase. That's why he's got a padlock in it. I don't really know. Here's a reverse of him for anybody that wants to see the pink vest in all its glory. Here we have a Workman with an oil can. I don't have really much else to say about this one. Here's his back. And finally, we have a fireman. I'm guessing it's a fireman due to the fact that he holds a shovel. He also looks very similar to the guy with the wrench right over there. And then here is the reverse of him. So the set of 4 Workmen were probably seen as the less desirable of the 3 figure sets that were released in 1993. We also had the family of 4 and Sir Topham Hatt with 3 Workmen. It made more sense to get Sir Topham Hatt as a figure and get those Workmen, so these Workmen were retired in 1995. Although once again, this one was kept around for a lot longer, eventually being introduced into that Sir Topham Hatt and 3 Workmen set. This item hurts my head. This is Seasonal Tree Pack number 1 that was introduced in 1993 and retired right after in 1994. In Seasonal Tree Pack number 1, you get 3 pine trees with snow on them and a yellow and purple tree. And just being biased here, I really do like the combination of these colors. Now, in the line at the time, there were 2 packs of seasonal trees. One pack showing the 2 tree colors you see right here, and the other pack showing the red and orange trees, which is called Seasonal Trees number 2. But the thing that confuses me so much about the Seasonal Tree Pack is that my friend Percy number 6 owns this item in the box with the Shining Time Station logo. Percy number 6 has Seasonal Tree Pack 1, and it shows the red and orange trees. So it's like, what's going on? Did they not care what tree combinations they put into the package as long as it was either the red and orange tree or the purple and yellow tree? So the wiki lists Seasonal Tree Pack number 1 as being retired in 1994, and that including the purple and yellow tree. But Seasonal Tree Pack number 1 that my friend owns has red and orange tree, and Seasonal Tree Pack number 2 was renamed to Seasonal Trees in 1995. And get this, playing again to another theory of mine, was retired in 1998, and it was replaced by the Combination Tree Pack beginning in 1999. But yeah, I just don't know what to understand here. If Seasonal Trees only included the red and the orange, and maybe there were also variants where it had the purple and yellow as seen in the yearbook. And again, considering that this item was retired literally the year after it was first introduced to the line, there's probably not a whole lot of variants in box floating around, at least ones that we have access to photographs here. Whoops. So if you own this item in the box, I'd be curious to know, what combination of trees do you have? Do you have Seasonal Trees 1 with the red and orange trees inside? Or do you have Seasonal Trees 1 with the purple and yellow trees inside? Or do you have a weird combination where maybe they put in the purple and orange trees in one box? Or the red and yellow trees, you know? I want to find out more about this item. And finally, our last item we are covering in this video is the set of 2 buildings, 2 trees, and 2 signs. And wow, that's a mouthful. This is again another item introduced in 1993 and retired the year after in 1994. And essentially kind of replaced, and it's also in a way kind of redundant if you look at it from the start. I could see why it was retired. This is another item that I technically don't own because the signs were not the signs that you see here. Signs in the wooden railway line were kind of like the figures. They were just wooden pieces that weren't painted and had a sticker to show what kind of sign it was. Or it was some really weird shit when it was just a stick, a green base, and then the sign on top. Looking at this set, it's kind of redundant, which I can see why it was retired. I mean, first of all, you already get the signs in the set of 5 signs pack, which also, by the way, this item was another mess too. There's variants of this item with a stop sign or a one-way sign or a combination of also the stop sign and maybe the school sign or the yield sign or whatever. So it looks like they just threw in 2 random signs into this set. This combination of signs that I decided to whip out here is what was seen in the promotional photo of it. But yeah, you can already get the signs in the set of 5 signs pack. You also get 2 regular green pine trees. You can also get those in the set of 5 trees pack, which just has all green trees. So really the only draw of getting this is getting the buildings. This is so basic. It's just a block of wood with stickers on two sides of it. There's not even a sticker on the back. And now this is an oddly shaped signal house. Again, no sticker on the back, but we do have stickers on the sides at least, which is something that house doesn't have. And it's got a pointed top. So I guess in 1995, we got the set of 3 buildings, which featured these 2 buildings, and there was no need to continue making this set. So that was a look at the first 10 items that were retired in the Thomas Winter Railway line. All of these items were retired between 1994 and 1996. Again, some of these might not count, like Boko and Henrietta, considering that they were reintroduced, but they were some of the first to be retired technically, as they were no longer in production by 1997. Then we also have a lot of accessories that were retired, like set of 4 Workmen, seasonal tree pack number 1 or number 2 or whatever number you want to call it. Just the tree pack with the yellow and the purple tree. How about that? Then we have our trio of really cool items that were retired early and never reintroduced, like the troublesome brake van, Sir Topham Hatt's car, and the Crosby Station cargo truck. And no, I'm not going to count the blue Sir Topham Hatt's car that was released in 2008 that features the Sir Topham Hatt that bobs up and down as the car moves along as the reintroduction of the original Sir Topham Hatt.